actually this move is a brahmastra.
Okay. Please explain that.
Because the dependency of Pakistan on water is huge. It's actually much more than ours even. They are a water scarce country.
Oh yes, they are.
And if what we have done is taken to extreme limits, it will cause extreme pain, even disruption in Pakistan. This is of course long term.
Yes.
By that I mean that we are also water deficient.
Right.
We do need water. And even if we were to take our fair share of water, our problems would actually be resolved of water shortages in northern India.
Yes.
As far as what would happen to Pakistan would be terrible if that happens. And the pain imposed would be huge.
You're on Strat News Global. I'm Nitin Gokhale, and today our guest is Ambassador Satish Chandra, former High Commissioner of India to Pakistan, and someone I respect immensely for his strategic acumen and wisdom, and someone who's watched India-Pakistan relations apart from many other diplomatic assignments in his long career in the Indian Foreign Service. And someone who, of course, even now writes and analyzes what's happening. So, thanks for your time, sir, and thanks for coming in.
Thanks a million. It's a pleasure always to be on Strat News.
Thank you, sir.
And a bigger pleasure that you are doing the interview because there are few with your acumen on the issue.
So thank you for saying that. Let me start with the obvious questions. India has taken some diplomatic steps. The biggest one, the first one is to keep the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance, and I particularly wanted you to come and speak to us because you've studied the Indus Waters Treaty in some detail. We've also analyzed it as the first deputy to the National Security Advisor and subsequently. What's your first reaction to that?
Oh, I think this has been an excellent move. But to explain it, if I may.
Yes, please.
I think I should tell you, for your audience particularly, a little bit about this treaty. Let's understand it. This treaty was overly generous to Pakistan, and I'll just give you 3 or 4 facts which would set it in perspective. You know, India has 40% roughly of the catchment area of the Indus Basin.
Sure.
But under the treaty, we are providing Pakistan with as much as 80% of the water and keeping only 20% for ourselves.
Right.
The second thing that I think everyone needs to understand is that already West Punjab at the time of partition was heavily irrigated. They had about 140 canals there. We had 12.
Right.
And as against about 21 million acres of land irrigated there, in India only 5 million were irrigated in the Indus Basin. So really this treaty, to have been fair, would have demanded that much more of the irrigation that was being created was created in India. And this did not happen.
Right.
Add to this the fact that we paid Pakistan as much as $175 million
in 1960.
In 1960 over a 10-year installment period, of course.
Right.
But we paid 176, it was then 62 million pounds, but translates to $175 million. They got as much as $900 million in the Indus Basin Fund, which was provided by the international institutions, by donor countries. USA provided around $450 million. So we were the second largest donor.
Oh my God. Okay.
And that was they built Tarbela Dam, they built Mangala Dam, they built 500 miles of canal works.
With our money?
With our money, and some of those canals, 10 or 15, were double the carrying capacity, double the size of the Potomac.
Oh my God.
So this is the amount of, shall we say, monies and goodies
Right.
that we gave to Pakistan for free. In fact, I'll add this, which is give you some idea of the very bad relationship and bad faith in which Pakistan conducted itself on many issues, including water.
Right.
On water, you know, there was an inter-dominion agreement between India and Pakistan in May 48.
Okay.
Under the inter-dominion agreement, we agreed to provide water to Pakistan with some diminutions, but agreed to provide it. And they understood at that time, they said they understood that India would need to irrigate.
Okay. And build more canals
Yeah.
in East Punjab.
They gave that up within a year.
Right.
They objected to anything we did. And in terms of payments, we said you will have to pay 3 charges.
Right.
You will have to pay royalty charges. You will have to pay cost of maintenance for the canals because we were supplying the water through headworks, etc. Madhopur and Firozpur.
Yes.
You will have to pay the maintenance costs and you will have to pay interest charges. They refused to pay the first and the third.
Okay.
And in fact, they didn't make any payments till 1960, till the treaty was signed. And the amount was not terribly large. It was around 140 lakhs by 1960.
Right.
They ended up paying only 60 of that also.
So there you are. So they were going back on everything possible.
And very bloody minded about it. So, and furthermore, the treaty itself is a bad treaty.
Right.
The treaty is a bad treaty because all the obligations are on India. We are the upstream.
It's a one-sided completely.
It's a one-sided. Any projects that we had to undertake, we were only allowed a small utilization on the western rivers, total utilization of the eastern rivers.
Right.
But even the works that we tried to put up
On the eastern rivers.
on the western rivers.
On the western rivers. So small work. Whatever.
Small works, they would take it into negotiations.
Right.
They took it to arbitration. They took it to a neutral expert and so forth. One of the projects with which I dealt with in the 80s was a very small, and this gives you the pettiness of Pakistan.
That's right.
This was a very small project called the Tulbul Navigation Project.
Oh yes, a very famous name.
It's a 20-kilometer thing along the Jhelum from Sopor to Baramulla.
Right.
Okay, 20. All we wanted to do was to increase the depth of that thing to about 4 feet, not great depths.
Okay.
And to have a clean channel so that timber is floated down the river.
Right. So the transportation is easier.
They objected to it and the project never got done.
Yeah.
Another one which was a very major project which had been conceived of in 1920.
Okay.
This is on the Chenab.
Yes.
It was the Salal hydroelectric project, I think 800 MW or something like that. It was a big project.
Right.
Conceived of in 20, we took it to Pakistan under the treaty around 68 or 70. It saw the light of day only in 1998 or thereabouts. It was finally commissioned, the phase 2, in 2007 or 2005.
Right. Yeah.
But in the negotiation process, they delayed. At least 10 to 15 years delay was done thanks to Pakistan. And since we had to concede to them, we actually damaged the project in having it because they said the spillways should be reduced from 40 feet to 30 feet. And the
on the Salar Dam.
On the Salar Dam. And the sluice gates, which are essential for all dams, to preserve them because silting takes place, so you clean them out, you flush water.
Correct.
The sluice gates were permanently blocked.
Oh no. So which means the dam
is now of little use. But the same thing happened on subsequent dams which they took to neutral expert, arbitration and so forth.
Right.
You know, Baglihar, Ratle, etc., etc. All of them. So all our works that were permitted under the treaty, because design objections were raised, which were frivolous design objections. Even one of them, which they took to a neutral expert. After 3-4 years, the neutral expert said, yes, the Indian position is more or less okay. 90% of what we are doing is fine.
Yeah.
Delaying
but the
tactics.
delay, yeah.
The delaying tactics, and there's a cost.
Yes.
I mean, this whole exercise has become a racket for neutral. You spend millions of dollars.
Oh yes, in the arbitration and the legal fees.
Court of arbitration, 7 members, neutral experts. 3-4 years. Right. Everyone's having fun and games at the expense of India and Pakistan. Of course, Pakistan doesn't mind. Pakistan doesn't mind because
anything that damages India.
Anything that
is okay.
you Nitin, you know Pakistan.
No, I don't know Pakistan.
You are absolutely right. Absolutely right.
So now that we have done this, which was anyway, der aaye durust aaya, as they say in Hindi. How does Pakistan, obviously they called it the act of war, I mean their Prime Minister has said this, but how does it now work going further?
No, actually, I'll be very upfront with you.
Yes.
I have always advocated for decades now, since 2000, 2005, I've been saying that this treaty is so bad that it needs to be junked.
Right.
Because it is an unequal treaty and injurious to India, and it hasn't achieved one of the things that perhaps, and I'm giving Prime Minister Nehru benefit of doubt, one of the things that he probably had in mind was that this will improve the relationships.
Yes.
In fact, to our chief negotiator who wrote a book on this, Mr. Gulati,
right.
In his book, he has written that when I went to see him in the last day when Gulati was in office, he said, you know, we did this treaty with some objectives in mind, but you see, we have got nowhere. Which meant that he was very disappointed at the state of relations.
Right. This is Mr. Nehru or Mr. Gulati?
Mr. Nehru.
Mr. Nehru.
Mr. Nehru told Gulati.
So he realized it.
He realized, but it was, so I have always felt this treaty serves no purpose because it has not improved relations with Pakistan. It has stymied all our efforts to even utilize the limited uses that we are permitted under the treaty. Because they take it into long drawn out negotiations, they take it to neutral experts, they take it to arbitration. In fact, one thing which was settled by arbitration has gone back to arbitration, another neutral expert. So I mean,
it just goes on and on. There is
so why have a treaty like this?
Correct.
And the very purpose of the treaty was to achieve goodwill and good relations.
Which obviously hasn't happened in 65 years, nothing has happened.
So my view has always been, and I am delighted with what the government of India has now done. I am delighted that we have placed this treaty in abeyance, and I think it's an excellent move from our point of view, and was something we should have done long ago, because as I said, the treaty doesn't serve any purpose for India.
Right. So that's a very good point to sort of clarify further for the audience, that now that India has done this, Pakistan has options of going to a court of arbitration perhaps, or just keep shouting at it, but we can walk out of the treaty because of the circumstances.
No, it's let me clarify here.
Okay.
Actually, we had started on this route where we have ended up now.
Right.
As early as January 2023.
Okay. So almost
we have
2 years
sent
ago,
we have sent 4 communications from January 2023 to August 2024 to Pakistan, saying that the treaty needs modification and also a rewriting or revisit because of the changed circumstances that have occurred. And in terms of changed circumstances that it referred to, it lists 2 or 3 things. One is population demographics. One is climate change. One is our own needs for power. And final is cross-border terrorism. This we have been mentioning in 2 earlier communications in 2024.
Right.
But it's an interesting thing which your viewers may be interested in knowing as to why we originally asked for a modification of the treaty. The treaty, I feel, was badly drafted.
Which you have said, yes.
Because it does not have an exit clause.
Correct.
It also insists that any modification has to be only through another duly ratified treaty by the 2 countries. So it ties you up totally.
Yes.
So we were pushed into this because, as I had mentioned earlier,
yes.
Pakistan constantly going on to arbitration, neutral experts, etc., delaying tactics.
Right.
So what the World Bank did, and I think the World Bank did a wrong thing, it simultaneously referred the same issue to arbitration and neutral expert, landing the whole mechanism into a disaster zone, because if the neutral expert says something and the court of arbitration says something else, where do you end up?
Right, because the parallel process cannot go on.
We were profoundly upset by this action on the part of the World Bank, which should have known better.
Exactly.
And then it pulled back everything.
Right.
But now we are back to square one, where it's again gone back into one thing is still all with neutral expert and court of arbitration.
Right.
So that's why we increased gradually, saying that the treaty needs a modification.
Absolutely.
Now the argument is made by some, and I'm sure will be made by Pakistan and its supporters, that how do you get out of a treaty which is virtually one in perpetuity?
Okay.
Now, actually...
The answer to that probably you know.
No, the answer is actually very simple. I'm not a legal whiz-kid expert by any means, but there is a generally well-known practice in international law and observance that if circumstances change so drastically that a treaty becomes difficult to implement and cannot be implemented, then you can get out of it.
Okay.
Incidentally, this is also true if you are at war with a country.
Yes. So,
because now the situation in India-Pakistan is not too dissimilar from actually a conflict.
Yes, it is.
And also it is actually hasn't come back to India on a renegotiation of the treaty over a period of now 2 years.
2 years, yeah, which started in January 2023.
And therefore it is already in breach of the treaty itself.
Right.
Actually.
Right. Correct. So
now we are very, very safe in that sense, and I think whoever drafted our announcement should be credited in the sense that it has been very well worded. It is that the treaty will be kept in abeyance.
Yes.
And the second aspect is this will be as long as Pakistan does not irrevocably and credibly, rather credibly and irrevocably abjure its use of cross-border terrorism. This is a carrot.
Which is like and so it can be both ways. It can be in perpetuity.
No.
Because the judgment is ours ultimately.
For me, I feel I am now not the Indian government.
Right, exactly.
I am an Indian
as
national.
As an Indian national, as a citizen.
I think the treaty is bad.
That's right.
And the language we have used is very time elastic.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So either you can use it as a carrot, or you can say that we are not satisfied with your...
So it depends on the Indian government what it wishes to do.
Exactly.
But the point is that no one can take you to seriously, they can take you to court.
Yes.
But no court can really say that what India has done is wrong.
Right.
Because the circumstances are totally different from the time when it was conceived in 1960 and negotiated in 1960, concluded in 1960, where you have now a consistent use of cross-border terrorism and a relationship which is very rocky.
Absolutely. So on that point, I need to take a break. Don't go away. This is a fascinating conversation. I intended to actually quiz him only on the Indus Waters Treaty and its effect of being kept in abeyance. But now that he is here, I'm going to pick his brains on how this is going to pan out, if at all, in a way that India wants. But don't go away. Welcome back. I am in conversation with Ambassador Satish Chandra. We've spoken about Indus Waters Treaty, one of the punitive measures India has taken, which the world is watching now. But the national mood is also for something more tangible. And you've handled Pakistan, you've seen Pakistan up close. What is it in its DNA that compels Pakistan constantly to do this first? And then I'll come to what next.
No, what compels Pakistan, and you said it, their DNA is such that anything that hurts India, they will do.
Okay.
I mean, I can tell you from my own stay in Pakistan, I had 2 stints there.
Yes.
And on one occasion, I did say this to some people who I knew well, who were influential, and I put to them, I said, why are you using terrorism? Because it's actually hurting you also, because these terrorist groups come and develop, they become radicalized, etc., etc. They will hurt you also.
Yes.
They said, but it hurts India as well also.
So that's their first priority.
Their first priority
the
is
last
to,
priority.
that's the raison d'etre, I think.
That's right. So having done that now, and this I think has crossed a certain red line in India's mind, hurting innocent tourists, and also then trying to say that Hindus have to be killed, they were separated.
Yes.
I mean, this has been a taboo in many discussions as far as public discourse is concerned. But I want to pick your brains on that. Now I think the Pakistan Army Chief, General Asim Munir, is also desperate for shoring up the army's image, because they've taken a beating over the past couple of years. And I think the best way he sees forward is to create a Hindu-Muslim communal divide in India. Fortunately, the reactions in India from all political parties, there is a consensus that India needs to take actions. How do you see this change in the public mood and the political mood?
No, I think India's reaction, and when I talk about India, it's not the government only, but I think the country has reacted in a very mature manner, as indeed I would expect India to react.
Right.
Because they have been united and they have been uniform, more or less, in their condemnation of the Pakistani exercise. Now, Pakistan, why did they do this? Yes, you are right. Their default option has often been that, okay, let's create some trouble here in India, and we will try and break up India, because they see India as they see themselves, that because they are so fractious, so broken up, that India will be likewise, and we are a totally different country.
Especially in the past 25 years.
So I mean, they've botched it up and read the tea leaves totally wrong.
Wrong, completely. So having done this now, and that there is a consensus within India, across the political spectrum, across the country. Also, I think you have now seen international diplomacy for decades now. is it that now we've got, India has got support from international community, major powers, minor powers, in a very consistent basis, especially after this particular incident in Pahalgam?
Yeah, this incident, it was to be expected because the incident was so horrific.
Yes.
But yes, what you say is also correct, that India's weight and stature internationally, also the fact that India has, for almost every country, been extremely helpful, and Vasudev Kutumbakam has the leitmotif of our country.
Yes.
So we have been helpful to many, many countries. I mean, even Pakistan, with whom we have such a bad relationship, during their 2005 earthquake,
Yes.
we gave $5 million.
Right.
I mean, India, it has no hegemonistic ambitions. India is constantly helpful to every country you see in the neighborhood.
Oh yes. Despite all the trouble from neighbors, big and
Even when
small.
we were short on vaccine, we distributed to innumerable countries, over 100 maybe.
Yeah.
So that's why the stature,
Support.
I mean, that's why, hence the support. But just a word of caution here is that whatever we do, whenever we do, I think we should, and I think that is there also ingrained in us, that we should rely on ourselves.
Exactly. We are alone in this battle.
All battles, at the end of the day, each country will look at their own. You look at China, for example, it has its own angles. I mean, it has supported terrorism, which has come from Pakistan in the past. So that will happen.
Certainly.
So, fine, it is very welcoming, reassuring that we, and I'm sure many countries will genuinely support you.
Right.
But in terms of decisions on how we are to act, this should be on our terms.
I think
even if it's very hard actions, even harder actions, if they have to be taken, they should be taken.
I think that we are moving towards that. And again, I want to, as a last thought from you, just want to ask you that when India takes, whenever, there's no if here, as I can see it, that there will be a kinetic action. But before that, so many steps have already been taken. India will take a kinetic action which is demonstrable, which shows people the intent. Also, Pakistan realizes that India does mean business. Then the work of diplomacy begins. And you have lived through those times after the nuclear test in 1998, the Kargil war conflict in 1999, and post that, all the fallout. Indian diplomacy is now further strengthened over these past quarter century or so, you would think?
Of course, no question about that. And really, as I said, it is matured. We have a lot of support. And I don't envisage, actually, during this crisis period of the last year or two with these conflicts, as an outsider who was earlier an insider, it has been a privilege to watch the deft nature of Indian diplomacy in handling this, because what we were in was in extremely difficult circumstances.
Sure.
With the polarization, with the divisions, with the supply chain disruptions, the whole gamut.
Yes.
But we have been deft, and kudos to it. I wanted to, if I may,
Yes, please.
Just dwell a little more on the Indus Waters Treaty.
Oh yes, please, let's go back.
Which is a favorite.
Right, I know. You've studied
subject
it so
for me.
In depth.
Because I want to underline that actually this move is a brahmastra.
Okay, please explain that.
Because the dependency of Pakistan on water is huge. It's actually much more than ours even. They are a water scarce country.
Oh yes, they are.
And if what we have done is taken to extreme limits, it will cause extreme pain, even disruption in Pakistan. This is of course long term.
Yes.
By that I mean that we are also water deficient.
Right.
We do need water, and even if we were to take our fair share of water, our problems would actually be resolved of water shortages in northern India.
Yes.
As far as what would happen to Pakistan would be terrible if that happens, and the pain imposed would be huge. But you know, people argue, theek hai, that is long term, 5 years, 10 years. What about now? Even now, the injury will not be as much, but the injuries would be there, because the implications of what we have done is that now we are not bound to share water flow information, which was being done regularly.
Regular basis, yes.
So the floods, the scarcity, the drawdowns that we do, etc., they will have no indication. It will happen.
It will happen and it will be sudden.
It will be sudden. So it could be quite painful,
Yes.
let's put it. It will not be extreme pain, it will be painful. Then second thing is that some of the projects that we had undertaken, and I alluded to some of them earlier, that there were restraints on us.
Right.
In terms of raising spillway levels, the dam heights, etc., removing sluice gates, which has its own implications. Even in the relatively short term of a year or so, if we start addressing that, that will cause problems.
Also, because when you raise dam heights or
So all these, even in the shorter term, the possibilities for us are huge. And in any case, there was a program in India. You know, we haven't fully utilized even what we are permitted under the treaty in terms of storages on the western rivers.
Right.
If we speed up those programs, those will also have some impact.
Then Jammu and Kashmir benefits out of that.
Everything that we do actually primarily redounds to the benefit of Jammu Kashmir. Of course, incidental beneficiaries would be New Delhi also. We'll have more water in the Jamna.
We always, in the summers, we are always on the tenterhooks.
So the transference of water can be done.
Right.
You know, the possibility,
Immense
engineering
Immense
possibilities are huge.
Immense, yeah, exactly.
So in my view, this is a Brahmastra, and it's unfortunate we didn't exercise this earlier.
But I'm glad, as I said, Dera Durust hai, and this government was moving towards it.
It was moving.
For the
It was
last,
moving. No,
6-7 years, I think.
I mean, this
2018 onwards, I have noticed.
the Prime Minister had said as much.
Yes.
That you know, we need to do this, and I am aware also that some of the storages which had been going slower have now come back on stream, etc. So
Fully utilized.
Now we need to fully utilize and do whatever we have to bring this country to take this country to task.
Yes. So which I think is the ultimate aim of what has happened. They have given us the reason. This should have been done without any reason also.
Yeah.
But now that they have given, Pakistan has given the reason for taking these punitive steps, I think they need to be utilized. And therefore, thank you very much, sir, for coming and giving us this perspective, because a historical perspective coupled with what's happening currently was extremely essential. So do keep watching Strat News Global. You will never get such in-depth perspective anywhere else. And of course, keep giving us feedback. We will bring to you more interesting guests and more interesting perspectives going forward. For the time being, it's goodbye.